Good evening. Welcome to the Select Board meeting of November 29th. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. This meeting is being broadcast live on BNC TV and live streamed on YouTube. To find BNC TV on YouTube, go to youtube.com and search for Bernardston-Northfield Community Television. This meeting will be available for later viewing by following a link at thetownofbernardston.org. You can also watch channel 1075 on your Comcast dial in Bernardston. First order of business are warrants. Entertain a motion for the payroll warrant of the amount of $54,071.90.
So moved.
Second?
Is there any concerns? Hearing none, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion for the vendor warrant in the amount of $176,655.27.
So moved.
Second?
The largest portion of this is for our tech school second quarter evaluation payment, which is $78,575. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion for the meeting minutes of November 15th, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, and we made a correction to show that Brian was not at that meeting, correct? Okay.
I was at that one,
All those in favor?
Aye.
You weren't at the next two.
the next two.
Entertain a motion for the special meeting minutes of November 21st, 2023.
So moved.
I'll second that because Brian was not at that meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion for the special meeting minutes of November 28th, 2023.
So moved.
I'll second that because Brian wasn't at that meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Calendar of announcements. This Saturday, December 2nd, the Bernardston firefighters will team up with the Bernardston Police Department once again for the annual toy drive at the United Church of Bernardston parking lot from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. This event will be followed by the annual tree lighting on Sunday evening, December 3rd at 6 p.m. Events will begin at the Bernardston Fire Station, followed by the tree lighting across the street at Cushman Park. We look forward to seeing you there to enjoy the festivities. The Franklin Conservation District is partnering with towns across the county to convert mowed areas into meadows in native plant pollinator gardens in Bernardston. Join us on Saturday, December 2nd from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Leiden Town Offices, 7 Brattleboro Road in Leiden, to hear more about this. The National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day Veterans Lasagna Lunch is on Thursday, December 7th at 1:30 p.m. at the Senior Center. Pearl Harbor survivors, veterans, and visitors will come together to honor and remember the 2,403 service members and civilians who were killed during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. RSVP by December 4th by calling the Senior Center at 648-5413. The Planning Board meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 4th at 6 p.m. Town Hall. Finance meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 4th at 6:30 p.m. Town Hall. The Bernardston-Leiden Police Service Advisory Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, December 6th at 11 a.m. at the Town Hall. Tax collector notice of tax taken is scheduled for Thursday, December 7th at 10 a.m. Not from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, as previously announced. Tax taken is scheduled at 10 a.m. sharp. Board of Health meeting is scheduled for Thursday, December 7th at 3:30 p.m. The Green Community meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 11th at 6 p.m. Do we know of any other? Okay, hearing none. Any citizens' concerns? Would you come right up, introduce yourself?
Jenna Skutnik Sheffield at 56 Mirfield Road.
Okay.
I'm here today because I built a house and was told I needed to put a culvert in order to get permits, in which I did, and that the town was going to take over the rest to connect it. Either I was told they were going to take down the 2 trees and connect it to the new culvert that's on the other side, And today, talking to Brian, it seems like he can't do much of anything because of not the landowners across the street.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard any of this.
I pretty much know the whole scenario on it.
So I just,
Yeah.
it's kind of a lot of water that goes through there, and I know it's just gonna turn to ice.
Okay, a couple things, he's offered a solution, might not be the best, but it's what he can do. We cannot get permission from DEP to put a culvert in there. If he could, that would already be done. So that's not gonna happen. There will not be a culvert. But he can fill that deep hole in that the contractor dug too deep, and therefore allowing that water to run instead of pooling there. And that should probably alleviate some of that condition. The other thing is, we could have the tree warden go out there and have a, what do I call it, a tree hearing to see if we could take down some of them trees, which is gonna be hard because they're all healthy trees. And I
They're big.
don't think that people are gonna wanna see those come down. But that's the only thing he can do at this time. He's not
So
he's not trying to blow you off, he's not trying to skate the issue, because if he could, you'd already have a culvert in there. But he can't do it.
So the rocks would go at the end where
The deep section.
the trees are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all he can do. I mean, I'm sorry for the inconvenience and the stuff it's causing you, but by bringing that up, raising that hole up, it could alleviate a lot of your problems.
So even when it rains and all the water goes to the bottom of it and it floods up, it goes all over the road and all over the other properties, so that's just what it's gonna do?
Right, well, that's why we wanted a culvert there, but again,
I don't know, I guess
we have to follow the law like everybody else.
I
and-
just feel like it's a
yeah.
little bit of a burden
Yeah.
on me and what I have to
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
and all the frogs that live in there and me out there plucking swamp-like weeds out of there in the summer.
Yeah,
to
I
maintain
know
it,
it's
it's
any
like-
ground, if they had the rocks in there, that would help some of that.
I mean, I'm willing to try anything, but I mean,
Okay.
I definitely don't want them like at the top just running through the whole,
And Brian's feeling is by filling in part of the ditch, because it was overdug to start with
Mm-hmm.
during construction. That's why it's so deep and it holds so much water,
Mm-hmm.
that some of the water will continue down the side of the road
okay,
and get to the next culvert up
okay.
without having to remove about
Alright.
50 trees to get to the,
See, we don't
next
even like it
culvert.
going down that side of the road. We'd like to
The other
have it.
side,
And believe me, Brian will continue to keep working and trying to get more information from DEP. I mean, it's not I wouldn't say we'd never have like a dead issue. If something comes up where he can do something, you can believe he'll do it.
I guess it was just the confusing, because for the last year and a
Yeah.
half, I've been told it will be done in the fall or the spring, and it's like, never really like,
I'll
no
see-
one followed up or anything, so it was kind of just felt
See,
like,
normally we don't have a problem putting a culvert in, but because of the buffer zone with this one, that's what creates a problem.
okay,
The other one's okay because that was there at the beginning of when the road was built, so that stays there.
yeah.
So,
All right.
okay.
All right. Yep, the rock
Okay,
issues.
thanks for
All right.
coming in.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have John Lepore. David Pomerantz.
How we doing?
We're doing all right.
Okay, maybe
How we doing?
we're here tonight to talk again about the MVP grant and to see if there's anything that you folks, you want to go further with this, or you just think at this point it's, we don't think we can go forward because we don't think we have enough time, or because we can't get an extension, unless we get an extension on a time to do anything.
We can't work on it,
We can't.
no. Legally, we can't. We didn't find that out until after we received the grant. We had to do paperwork before we filled the application out for Section 19 with the State Ethics Board. No one informed us, we didn't know. And so we went to the State Ethics Board to make sure we were meeting all the requirements after we received the grant. And that's when we discovered this problem. So if you write a grant and you expect to get, compensated for the work that you're going to be doing on the grant, you have to do this work first before you even apply, and it has to be approved by the select board. It's one of those pieces of paperwork that you don't know about until after you've crossed that bridge.
So if we could get an extension, it wouldn't do you much good
For us.
for you two.
But for the towns, if they somehow had the internal capacity
Yeah,
to
I don't
want to
think
take
we
it
do.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are a pretty good driving force behind this.
Yeah,
Obviously.
We all felt very
Yeah.
comfortable with Leiden.
Yeah.
Is there a redo opportunity?
not with this.
Let the grant expire without drawing it down?
Hang on.
So I can
Andrew,
answer these
you wanna-
questions. Andrew Smith, I'm the MVP coordinator for the Greater
You
Connecticut
wanna come
River
up?
Valley.
Just so I don't have to turn around.
Excuse me, you are again?
Andrew Smith, I'm the
Okay.
MVP regional coordinator for the Greater Connecticut River Valley. It's my name
Yeah.
right there on your
Yeah.
spreadsheet. So yeah, I administer grants up and down the region, and we work on projects. And I wanted to be here tonight in case you had any questions about extensions, timelines, anything along those lines. So if someone wanted to manage this grant, so I got a letter today from Leiden saying that they were bowing out and that they didn't want to administer the grant. So my understanding is that Bernardston has entertained the notion of whether or not you want to entertain the grant, administer the grant. And so for us, June 30th is the deadline for this contract. But on our end, if someone is working, taking steps towards doing something to implement the scope of work that's in the contract, we normally granted extensions. So in this instance, so say for example, I know, say for example you wanted to bring on, for some reason it's government to government relationships with FERCog, you can contract with them. If there was another government to government relationship, then I would say there's somebody else. But what you could do is you could have somebody like that, an entity like that, administer the grant for you. I know Bernardston, that was their last minute, last ditch effort. Sorry, Leiden, that was their last ditch effort to try to see if they could have someone else administer the grant. And FERCog was too busy. But so say for example, you said we need more time. Let's see if we can make it work. And you worked with them to try to fit it into their schedule.
I'm gonna step in. Just explain to me real clear
Yep.
why they can't, with their expertise and the work they've done, they can't go forward.
That's beyond me. I don't pretend to be a procurement expert. I always recommend that people defer to their local procurement officials. So maybe you guys could tell more about it on your end when it comes to.
Dave, you want to go ahead?
Sure. So I'm the emergency management director for Leiden, and John works he's an alternate for the planning board in Bernardston. So under state conflict of interest law, there is a form under what's called Section 19 that should be filled out if you are not a full-time employee, but you want to engage with the municipality you live in to work on a grant. If I was a full-time employee for the town, I would have been working on the grant as a full-time employee, already being compensated with a salary, et cetera. But because John and I are not, we did not know that we needed to fill out this Section 19 form prior to even picking up a pen to write the proposal. So under state conflict of interest law, it can be perceived that we wrote the grant for financial gain down the road. And that's the conflict of interest.
Did you ever try to fill out the report and send it in, or
Not the Section 19, Stan. There is a Section 20 that says once a town is awarded the grant and you want to then work on it not as a full-time employee, you fill out Section 19, which is called the tiny town exemption.
Okay, I guess I want to stop you.
Yeah.
Who told you guys couldn't go forward? I understand the Section 19. Did you contact somebody in that office and they said that you didn't fill out this form, so you can't go forward?
The Leiden Selectboard said, there's this conflict of interest law. Did you know about it? No, we didn't. And there's the State Ethics Commission that you need to basically get approval from so you don't get into any sort of a conflict.
Okay, let me ask this question. I understand all that. I'm going to go back to, was the State Ethics Commission actually contacted and said, listen, we've made an error here. We didn't know we had to fill out this form.
Right.
if we fill out this form now, can we continue to go forward? They can either say yay or nay. But if nobody's actually picked up the phone and talked to them, we don't know that.
Oh, both, the town can't call them, I had to call them because I wrote the
And they
grant.
told you no?
And they said, we can't advise you about section 19 because you didn't fill out the form. But if you start to work on the grant and somebody says, wait a minute, you're not a full-time employee, but you wrote this grant and now you want to get paid for
Okay,
it.
okay.
So
Karen, can we get a hold of that commission? And let's explain to them the scenario and see if we can get some clarification and maybe get some understanding that we can move forward. If you guys would still want to move forward. I don't know if you even want to move forward. I should have asked that question first.
It's kind of water over the dam,
Yeah.
but, and I just want to say, you can't
No
make
pun
this stuff
intended.
up, by the way.
No, you can't.
You just
This
can't
is-
make this stuff up.
No.
It's just unbelievable. We've put so many hours into this and our hearts into this project, and to have this happen has just been
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Not right.
So, but
So,
anyway,
To clarify, Bernardston, you guys would have to administer the grant. So right now, it's a joint application between Leiden and
Okay.
Bernardston. Leiden's bowing out. So you would have to take on the administration of the grant on behalf of Bernardston. And I think Leiden, when I spoke to them, they were like, it's fine if Bernardston wants to be the one to do the work. But, so I don't think we'd have to rescope anything. I think like the work would still be the same. It's just, it would be on the town of Bernardston to administer it.
Okay.
That's the only thing, just to clarify.
but to answer your question, I think we would be interested in administering the grant or being, doing the work, if that's in fact,
If we can work through that.
if we could work through that piece, but I'm
Right.
not really hopeful that they're gonna allow that.
Okay.
You mentioned section 20 was a small town exception. What's that?
So that allows towns of less than 3,000 people, which both Leiden and Bernardston are, to get an exemption from the select board to wear more than one hat in a town, because there just isn't a population large enough for individual roles. So for example, I'm the emergency management director in Leiden. I'm also on the building needs committee. So I had to file this section 20 form with the select board when they asked if I wanted to be on the building needs committee, because there was nobody else who wanted to step up. So that's section 20, but section 19 deals with applying for grants when you're not a full-time employee and getting a potential conflict of interest determination from the state before you even write the application.
Okay, do you fellows,
Yeah, I think if we can work through that hurdle, which I'm with John, the state's probably not gonna allow it, but it's worth another shot. Because you guys did have so many hours into this already. We're awarded the large grant, it was gonna do some great work,
Right.
and just to have the fingers slammed in the door at the end, pretty hurtful, really.
What's actually the beginning?
No.
Just to clarify.
okay.
So if you call them, you may hear that only the person who the matter involved can actually talk to the State Ethics Commission. So for example, the Leiden Select Board couldn't even talk to anybody at the State Ethics Commission. I had a call because I was the individual asking the question. If the Select Board had called, they wouldn't have even talked to them. So
So you're
they
saying
may
that I
not-
wouldn't be able,
I don't know.
okay.
But you don't work for Bernardston, right?
No,
Okay, and you don't work for Bernardston, do you?
Yeah, I'm on the
he's on
planning
the planning
board.
board.
But it's not a
He's
Not
not a
paid,
paid
though,
employee.
it's not paid.
But still, it could be considered to be a conflict of interest.
We'll fire
Somebody,
you.
somebody could perceive
Planning board for 6 months.
perception.
So
That's,
what you could do is you could ask if you're not paid by Bernardston, is it a conflict of interest? Right?
But it benefits Leiden.
yeah.
Right. Well, then,
Well, it doesn't have to.
well, the other thing too is like, I mean, I guess you could like step off the planning board too. I mean, that's like your decision. But I mean, there are questions you could ask. If you could say, hey, conceivably, if I stepped off the planning board and if I don't work for Bernardston, but I'm working on behalf of Bernardston in a different capacity. I mean, again, it's like, I mean, these are just like, I always like to troubleshoot things and try to find a way forward. So like, that could ask them that, you know, if there's ways you could configure it that would result in removing the conflict, you know?
You can try.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they basically, kept coming back to the section 19, file it before you write the grant. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back to my original question. Let this grant expire on June 30th and apply for the grant again, now doing it in the right order with the section 19 in place.
Andrew's gonna have something to say about that.
Andrew?
So for you guys, we're not punitive, we don't look at somebody not finishing something as like, we're out to get you now. That's like not our approach. So I think, say for example, it just doesn't work out and no one can administer it. Then if all the boxes are checked in advance and it ranks competitively, we have, you know, last year we had like over like what, how many, $70 million in funding requests. We can all get what, 20 million, you know? So we're always oversubscribed, but if it competes well, then potentially, yeah, you know, it's not like we're going to say you had one bite of the apple, get out of here, go away. It's all, I mean, these things take time. It's a long-term process for finding solutions. So we're not punitive. That's not our approach, you know.
So I have a question, Amanda.
Mhm.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, yes.
My understanding was if they turned back the money if Leiden turned back the money for the wildfire grant, that they could apply for another MVP grant, but it couldn't be on wildfires.
No, we had a town that, for whatever reason, they got a really small amount of money for culvert, and then next thing you know, construction prices ballooned like by 300%. So they couldn't complete it, so they ended up turning the money back. They came back, they reapplied for the right amount of money for the culvert, and they got awarded for the culvert. So I think that's the part where we really try to work with people.
So
We're young, we try to figure it out.
the statement of interest period is already open.
Correct, yeah. Yeah.
So how would that work? Statement of interest is where you initially send something to Andrew and MVP to say, we're thinking about putting this grant application in. And they may get back to you with questions. So we're already rolling into that next cycle.
Yeah, December 15th.
So how's that going to work?
Well, I mean, it's not a requirement, you know.
True.
But I would say for you guys, whoever the town is, each town can submit 2 statements of interest or expressions of interest for projects that you think are important for climate resilience. If this happens to be one of the projects, what you would do is you would say, here's what we're thinking about, and just identify the problems of like, it turns out we can't do it this year. I mean, for me, it's like way easier if you guys could do it because now I have to figure out what to do with the other money. But anyway, just say like, you can't. And then you move forward from that perspective of, hey, we found this out. We're going to do it the right way this time. And just whichever town is going to be the town to submit has to be like the town that submits, you know. So it's possible. It's just saying like, hey, we messed up. We goofed, you know.
Worth a shot.
You want to try that or not?
All right. Well, I think
Yeah.
it sounds like the first step is going to be to see if
we get
the
any
town
farther.
can get a response from the Ethics Commission and relay that to us, and then we'll either go down this road or we're going down this road. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to apply, the grant again.
yeah, see what
All the
happens.
work's done in that sense, it's just
right.
changing the town at the
That
top.
was a lot.
You don't want to waste that.
Ton of work. Yeah.
And it's a necessary process, project.
Right.
So,
Will you send me that information for the telephone, like who you talked to? Do you have, you said you already had called them?
I can send you some
Yeah.
information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging in there though, really. I mean, really, be good to do it.
Holding our breath.
We'll see. All right.
Thank you.
Karen can be very convincing.
And if she's successful, we should have an easy time getting an extension on the grant.
Yeah, so we would have to recontract with Bernardston and then just explain what's going on. May 1st is our deadline for contract extension requests, so as long as everything's lined up before then, it's possibly, it's like in the realm of things that are more likely to happen than not,
Okay, but you guys haven't stopped them because they don't have that Ethics Commission 19 filled out. You didn't stop it because of that.
Well, I mean, we're still learning all these nuances, you know. We see the application that's in front of us, we get like
No, the question
150,
is, did you guys actually stop them from working?
No,
like during the application process? or-
no, it,
Okay, so,
we were all clear. We're good
okay.
that way.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll continue on and we'll see if we can
I
find out.
just didn't want to go behind bars, that's
Right.
all.
right.
You won't. You won't.
No, I-
That's a good policy in general.
Plus, I know how to make dried cherry muffins. I can send them down.
Oh,
to you
okay,
guys.
with a file in them?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's good that Andrew was here because,
Yes.
you know, he gets your perspective and he gets what's gonna happen, and you can take this back to Kara, you know,
Yeah.
who's
Yeah, we really wanna
Andrew's
make this
boss.
work. We do.
So, it's better than, you know, John and I calling Andrew and going, hey, we went to the meeting last night and here's what happened.
Right.
So I'm glad you stopped by.
No, it's even important.
And if there's anything else we can do on our, write a letter to somebody that helps, I don't know.
Well, I think if it lines up in a way that's conducive to the work continuing, it's just making sure that you guys are gonna contract with
Right.
the state, you know, and be responsible for all the reimbursements, and, you know, it is a process, like, someone from the town, like, has to submit reimbursement paperwork to me to document that everything happened, so I don't know who would do that.
It'll either be Karen or we have a grant writer that can help us with that too.
Right, so yeah, it's just important, like, if whomever invoices the town, and the town doesn't submit the paperwork, like, I can't just magically, like, make the
Right.
money.
Make the money transfer.
Yeah. So,
Okay, folks. We're gonna
Thank you very much.
thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brian.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for hanging in there.
Yes, appreciate it. Oh, boy, I'll be getting the muffin tray going. Okay, next up we have the school committee, the school coming up. Patricia Kinsella and Superintendent and Jordan Burns, the Director of Finance. Step right up.
How's the background?
Oh, wow.
Got all these printers, gotta get some more.
On, huh?
Good, Sam. Good to see you.
Okay, see you too.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good.
Well, that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Would you like a couple extras?
Yeah, we can leave one for
And we'll
Karen.
send stuff electronically.
Yeah, Karen will want that, yeah.
Okay, if we can get back settled down, we can get back to work here. And I will turn the meeting over at this point to Patricia.
Well, hello Bernardston, hello Select Board, hello FinCom. Thank you for inviting us. As always, we are delighted to be here with you, our neighbors. I'm Patricia Kinsella, I'm the Superintendent of Schools. With me is Jordan Burns, our Director of Finance and Operations, and in the audience is Michelle Geruso, School Committee Vice Chair and Chair of the Budget Subcommittee, and Melissa Gary, School Committee Member, resident of Bernardston. And so we appreciate their participation in tonight's meeting. So, we'd like to give you a brief overview of context in the district. We're at a really exciting juncture here. I'll be brief, setting context, and then I'm going to hand over to Jordan. He'll walk you through this presentation, and again, we'll send you this so you can post it on your website if you'd like. Different from 2 years ago when I first started hanging out at the Bernardston Town Hall. The past 2 years have had a real focus on operations. While my background is more on the front of the house in terms of public school systems, I've been more, my background is in teaching and learning more than operations. The past 2+ years have been, for me, almost exclusively spent on trying to clean up some internal systems. And now that we've got Jordan, we've had such improvements in terms of financial management. We've got the facilities master plan that will be presented next Thursday evening, or a week from Thursday. We completed the Warwick transition. The district agreement, I think Mrs. Dutcher will be very happy to hear, will be presented in draft form to the towns, we hope, in January for your review. And we hope that we can shepherd that.
Can you hold up right there? That's got me, you saying you're going to give us a draft. We already had a completed draft that the townspeople put a committee together for a district agreement and gave to you guys just to look it over and send it out. We didn't expect you to rewrite the district agreement. We already had that done.
Stan, I can share with you what my experience has been. Remember, I'm 2 years and a few months into this here. That's it. When I came, what I understood and what I was told and what the files had was that we had a district agreement from 91, amended in 99. There had been a lot of work in some intervening years, but that there was still work to be done.
No, time out again. No.
Go ahead.
No, I'm a little upset over that comment because the townspeople got together at our senior center. We put a committee together that worked on it. Was it 2 years, Michelle, or 3 years? Worked on this thing extensively, rewrote the whole thing. We had a professional consultant come in and worked on it as well. Gave it to the school committee, and then nothing happened to it. It just fell down, and we kept asking, when are you going to give that back so we can get this thing done?
Oh, that's...
So it shouldn't have been rewritten.
So I'm going to ask for Michelle's assistance, but this is making more sense to me because when the district agreement subcommittee started up again about 2 years ago, we were working with an updated draft that Mars had reviewed.
Yeah, from the Heart Committee.
So is
Right,
that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Stan, what I can tell you is that's the draft that we were working from, and we have continued to work from. We've been sharing it with the Department of Education. They've been providing feedback. We had another call with them this morning.
That should have been, this whole thing should have been done. I mean, we went through the pandemic, which would have been a perfect time for the school committee to look that thing over and get that thing back. Why it didn't happen, I'm not going to argue that point, but this is just shame.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah.
The good news here, Stan, is we're cleaning this stuff up. We're going to get the towns a draft in January for you to begin sending to your attorneys for you to review. Let's get a new agreement to the town meetings this spring. So that's part. So I hear you. I can only imagine the frustration.
I don't think you do hear me because it's very upsetting to the townspeople again to have stuffed up our nose or you guys sticking your nose up in the air to us because we already gave you the documents and all we wanted you to do is look them over and put down some notes and send it in. And now you're telling us it's been rewritten, you got draft one. I'm sorry, let's move on.
Okay, we'll move on. There's been a lot of financial cleanup. Jordan will be talking again, recapping the important votes that took place on October 26th of this fall that returned $740,000 plus to the towns. And we're beginning to do some exciting programming work. The auxiliary gym at Pioneer is being completely revamped. And according to our...
What has the gym?
The auxiliary gym. So that's a large space next to the gym.
Yeah.
That unfortunately, Stan, I am sorry to say, has not been kept in good repair.
Mm-hmm.
There's equipment that's very, very old in there that we got used 15 or 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So the school committee has supported purchase of new fitness and conditioning equipment.
Good.
And our hope is that it will be one of the best, if not the best, fitness and conditioning gyms in Western Massachusetts. The old revamped wood shop is up and running. We're talking about adding yet another hands-on pathway at Pioneer for next year. We've got our environmental educator. We hope that we can bring forward some proposed curriculum by the end of this year. There's a grade 8 meeting tonight and for families over at Pioneer to talk about what the principal and dean of students have been doing with grade 8 students to learn about what's working for them, what's not working, what they'd like to see improve. So we've got our new director of teaching and learning. We're on it. So now we've spent 2 years on operations. Now we can really focus on teaching and learning improving our offerings, strengthen what we provide to kids and teachers in the classrooms, and we are all excited about that. So, with that, I'm going to hand over to Jordan. He'll talk to you about money.
Can I ask one question about
Yeah.
the wood shop? I
Yeah.
hear in the community that the kids aren't allowed to be hands-on with a lot of the tools because of an insurance reason. Is that the truth, or is that just?
So I don't know what kids are hearing. What I can tell you is we made a firm decision last year when we decided to open the wood shop that we would not be using the very large 1950s, 60s, 70s equipment with the kids. All of that equipment needs a thorough review top to bottom, and it's a new program. So the kids have been working with hand tools. They've been using electric hand tools, but we're not letting them use the planer.
Okay.
You know, we did purchase a stop saw. Ken, looks like you know about stop saws.
You took me on
Oh,
a
the
tour.
tour, okay. But that is for use by the woodshop teacher. So the kids are building
So
all
they are
kinds of.
doing some hands-on with real tools.
All of it is hands-on with
A
real
lot of what
tools.
I'm hearing in the community is not that.
I have been in and seen kids working with tools,
Okay.
so I'll take another look, but,
Perfect.
we've got
And,
that.
I went just as a parent
Yep.
as an 8th grader for the open house, and they showed all the hand tools, and what it looks like right now from my parent hat, is that they're doing a lot about the art and the craftsmanship with the hand tools as opposed to the big saws and the big, so they're building picnic tables, they're,
Hand carving wooden
hand
spoons.
carving wood things.
As long as
So-
the kids are actually able to do
Oh,
hands-on stuff.
Yeah, my son is currently taking the
Just,
course and is doing things. and-
Just to take that a step further, we're in the process of trying to hire somebody new for Saturdays at the transfer station.
Yep.
And the person is 17 years old.
Yep.
He can do everything over there except he cannot turn the key on the compactors. So he cannot actually operate the compactors. And that's just, so I can believe some of that old equipment at the school probably shouldn't even be there.
Yeah.
But there's got to be exceptions for some of that, because tech schools are allowed kids to use hand tools under 18.
we can,
Maybe it's newer equipment that has
Right,
more
that's what
safety.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was hearing they weren't allowed to even use a battery drill.
no, that's not the case.
That's why I'm asking.
And our insurance, just for the record, the insurance company has been great. They are fully in support of this, and so they sent us some pages of their recommendations regarding safety, and we have exceeded their safety.
Good,
We've
good.
got all kinds of procedures in place. So I want to stop talking so that Jordan can talk to you about good money stuff.
Who doesn't like to talk?
There you go.
It's hard to get them in to talk.
There you go. Hard to get them to stop. So, echoing what Trish said, thank you everyone for letting us come here. And Melissa's got me on the clock, so I'm going to try to go as quickly as possible.
Crack that whip.
Hey, well, there you go. I'd like to get into it. Spoiler for anyone who's looking for bad news, all we have is good news. And so happy to answer questions after the presentation, but we have a lot of good news. And I know with a community like Bernardston that supports everything we do, that you all will be happy to hear great news. So I want to summarize, and I'll try to be quick because I know some of you already heard this, but what happened in our October 26th school committee meeting and the actions that were voted on. The three big things that came out of that meeting, we're not going to have the state note anymore. We're going to pay off that note of $198,000.
What was the note for?
It was a ban, but it allowed for us to borrow money, after the.
What was the money spent on?
Oh well,
It was to cover a deficit.
Okay.
In the food service?
All right, thank you.
Yep. So we're no longer going to have that. Another action we plan to take from that meeting is to return $740,214 to the towns. We'll get more into exactly how that breaks down between assessments and an actual just return of money to the towns and make key investments in our school. As Patricia's beginning to talk about, really focused on teaching and learning and improving the student experience. A question from Northfield that we thought would be informative to provide an answer to all of you, as well as, how is this possible, kind of why did it happen now? And so that on the fourth slide there is a bullet pointed list of some of the reasons. And I think, as I explained at Northfield, it really starts at the top. We have a superintendent who's doing really great work. You know, I know from my own experience in the relationship we have, you know, she brings out the best in me, holds me to high standards, and allows me to improve my practice. And I think that goes across the administrative team. So I think when we're having administrative successes, we do have to provide the accolades where, you know, where appropriate. And Patricia's certainly been leading us to a great deal of success. So I certainly appreciate that in my role, and I know the other administrators do. But in terms of specific bullet points, you know, I mean, one thing that we can't take credit for, but is a very big positive, is increased state support, right? The state is starting to hear the message that rural education is different than education in Boston, and things. There are certain things that just necessarily cost more to run a small school district. We've seen the increase in transportation aid and rural aid going from 5 million, 6.5, or sorry, 4 million, 5.5 million, now to 15 million. So the increase in rural aid is, you know, increasing at an increasing rate now. So that's good. You know, pandemic-related vacancies, you know, there were positions that were tough to fill, so that ultimately, when you budget for something and it doesn't happen, it goes to fund balance.
What vacancies are you specifically talking about?
Well, I mean, just overall in terms of, you know, FTEs, staff. So whether it's teachers, whether it's support staff, I mean, I think that everybody knows right throughout the country, finding people to work in the pandemic and immediately thereafter wasn't the easiest thing to do. I know, I'm sure you all have struggle with that impact some as well. So, but that ultimately, right, when positions don't get filled, does provide you additional fund balance, additional excess and deficiency. You know, accurate and timely filing of reports. You know, we corrected one error last year, which added almost $200,000 to our revenue by correcting it, you know, from the previous financial administration of misfiling on the end of the year report. So that's good and helps, and accurate, and the timely aspect helps because by filing on time we have better estimates of what we're actually going to bring in revenue. So that helped us in being able to reduce assessments. Better return on investments. We went to our bank last year, and after the budget process, and we're able to get a much higher interest rate at the bank, so that improves our return on investments. Increased tuition revenue. So obviously the words that both, you know, Patricia and myself will say about the school getting better are one aspect, but I think another aspect that shows that there's truth to that content is students are choosing to come here, right? We have more Vernon, Vermont students, 10 more students than the previous year. So that's good. That's just a, you know, no downside to that. That's really good news. Responsible grant.
That's at a $14,000 rate?
18,000 and change now. So
I'm going to jump in for a second too, and Stan, until last year, we didn't even have a written legal agreement with Vernon.
Great point.
And we weren't charging for any extra special education costs. So that's another cleanup we did. We have a written legal tuition agreement, and Vernon has agreed when there are, you know, if it's a small special education need that we can meet with our existing staff, that's fine. But when it's a significant need that requires extra staffing or special assessment or specialized equipment, Vernon now will pay that cost.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And responsible grant management, just meaning that, you know, making sure that we steward that money just as closely as we would with general fund money. And for example, I think the perfect example is ESSER 3, where we had most of our money remaining going into FY24. So that's going to help to not have to fund some things on the general fund. So that's been a benefit in terms of accumulating some balances. And successful grant applications, we'll get into that more later in the presentation, but just in, you know, spring of 2023 alone, we had over $200,000 of grants that ultimately this year have allowed us to ask for less from the town. So I'll get into more specifics about that, but that certainly has helped. And I think a big one is spending based on educational merit rather than availability of resources. And what I mean by that is, you can get into March and people will start coming and having really great ideas of how to spend money, which is wonderful, but they need to be really great ideas. And that's why sometimes I might not be the most popular person around the district, because sometimes you have to say no if it isn't in fact a really great idea. Just because you have money remaining in the balance doesn't mean you have to spend it, right? There's an alternative. One of the alternatives is to return to the towns. And our willingness to say no Certainly, popularity contest, I don't think either of us might necessarily win, but it does help us be able to, put more money into these reserves and to be able to return money to the towns, because it is easy when people, right, you have money left in the budget, let's spend it. Well, that's not how it works. You spend money if there's a meritorious thing that you actually need for the benefit of students and staff for a better education. You don't spend money because you have it. So, and the summary there is just overall sound fiscal management of the district. So yeah, with the good news in terms of being able to reduce our assessments for FY24, this current fiscal year, some things happened after we had already adopted the budget, and some of the big positives were, the state came through with reimbursing transportation at 90% rather than 75%, which is what we were advised to budget for, so that was a good thing. But tuition was $165,550 higher than we had budgeted for, so that's really good news, because students are choosing to come to our district. And earnings from investments, as I said, we approached our bank and were able to get a much higher interest rate, and so that's another $116,000 that we hadn't budgeted for, because as you all know, the interest rate environment has changed markedly just during last fiscal year, right?
Who's your bank?
For that one, it's Greenfield Savings Bank.
How many students do you have at PVRS?
At PVRS, just the middle high school?
It's right here. It's,
220 some?
Okay, so if you take 14,720 and divide by 220, it's give or take
6 point something.
yeah,
How
maybe
much?
244.
6 point something, yeah. Not quite 7.
14,720,000, the total of that column,
Yep.
divided by 220 employees.
Oh, well, that's district-wide, so let's call it 600 and change, so 620, yeah. So now you're talking a little over $20,000.
And we're only charging Vernon 18, and we're patting ourselves on the back.
If I may, the Vermont Department of Education sets rules around this. We are not free to charge Vermont more. We could charge them maybe $25 more, but their Department of Education actually sets an allowable amount for students who are attending another district, including a district out of state. So we look at their yearly approved amount, and then we typically lower it to the nearest even $100. So it might be $18,266. We would lower it to $18,260.
As a taxpayer of the town of Bernardston, I am funding the Vernon School, the children, to the tune of $2,000 apiece.
You can see it from that perspective. An alternative perspective is, let's think of what would happen if they don't come. Is the taxpayer of Bernardston, you pay way more in taxes, but to the tune of, how many ever students? So 20 times 18,000, so there's 360,000 more, because you don't hire anybody, because they're coming middle high school, so even different than...
They don't have teachers?
We don't need
They
to
don't
create
have
extra
janitors, they don't have custodians, they don't have food service, they don't have all of that? They do cost money.
Well, I mean, food service isn't on the general fund, so that's a poor example. But they cost money, sure, but if they're taking seats that are essentially vacant, it's a net benefit. I shudder to think the impact of not having them. I certainly think the 2,000 that you're talking about, if there was ever a referendum on what the choice would be, I think everybody in the town of Bernardston would say to take the students. That it's a net benefit.
You say everybody, I would vote against it, so it's not quite everybody.
So
I
wonder if a helpful comparison might be the school choice amount of money we get. So we get $5,000.
That's another loser program.
Yeah.
So you'll notice that the school committee voted this year to significantly restrict school choice seats at the elementary level. It kept open a number of seats at the high school level, in part because, as Jordan says, when we add students at the high school level, we almost never have to increase sections or staffing. They're sitting in a seat, as Jordan said, that would be empty. It's not an increase in cost. And now, because we've required a written legal tuition agreement with Vernon, if those kids do cost us money because of their significant special needs, we charge Vernon.
You just said that the state of Vermont won't let you do that.
No. We may charge that. What we may not do is have a standard base tuition amount that is above what they set on a yearly basis.
Right, which is a very important point. So mathematically, I can speak to New York State, right? Like any of these tuition agreements, the special education rate would be much higher. So the fact that we pay maybe all in $20,000 per student, including students with special education services and students in general education, one would think that $18,000 might actually be above the actual cost of educating the student. So it could actually still be a net positive. So that's why I would have provided the council before this theoretical referendum, because in fact it's probably a net financial benefit, because to Patricia's point, if the students have significant special education costs, there'd be additional fees received.
One more point that maybe will be context. When we were drafting the Warwick transition agreement, we also drafted a Warwick tuition agreement. And to provide baseline information, we asked the state for copies of every interdistrict tuition agreement in the state currently. They gave us everything they had. I went through every single one of them. I analyzed them. The most expensive tuition agreements are down on the Cape. Everything related to education down on the Outer Cape in particular. It's just astronomical. That and the islands, right? Our tuition agreement with Warwick is $18,000 or so. It is possibly the second highest tuition rate for an interdistrict agreement in the Commonwealth. So we are aggressive about defending the district's economic interests when it comes to working with other districts.
So we're losing money on Warwick too. $2,000 for every Warwick student.
Or we could not have those kids tuition into us and we would lose X hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Or we reduce the budget appropriately. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in any positive situation, there's a way to look at it negatively, but I would caution against that. I mean, I think when things are going well and positive things are happening, we should look at that and say that's a positive, right? More tuition students defray the costs and slow assessment growth. I mean, that's factual and mathematical. So that's a good thing. And I just want to make sure that it gets framed in an appropriate manner. There is no maybe there. There's not a loss. It's positive mathematical and slows assessment growth for the towns. So it's a benefit. I think we have to be factual. So those are the benefits and the changes since the initial assessments were adopted. In addition, the capital assessments were reduced by $25,000, and that's because we got the Safer Schools and Communities grant. I know we talked about that before at Bernardston. So there were certain things budgeted on the general fund that ultimately were funded by this grant. So that allows us to reduce the capital assessment as well. And it also allows the towns to spend less because they had, I know Bernardston in particular had $39,000 budgeted for safety and security upgrades that ultimately this grant will pay for. So that's another unadulterated positive. So the overall impact of the changes and increase in revenue is that we're able to reduce operating assessments for the 3 member towns by $215,214 and capital assessments by another $25,000 for a total assessment reduction for the 3 towns of $240,214. And these increased revenues also allow us to pay off the state note, as we don't need to renew that note and don't need that revenue source. So all good things. I know for some of the member towns, having the state note has felt like a big negative and a sign that things weren't going well. So I think that this represents a turning point, that we no longer need that state note. And the important thing I think to mention with that as well is it does reduce future operating costs by approximately $55,000 a year. So essentially we use FY24 money to reduce every year going forward by $55,000, which again slows assessment growth. And so in terms of, I know again, state note was a thing that was perceived negatively. I understand that. And I think there are questions about, well, why could it happen before? And one of the important points that the fiscal overseer made was that, you know, the district's riding the ship. DESI has more confidence and can improve that action and wouldn't have in previous years. And, you know, DESI specifically conveyed a sense of improved confidence in the administrative leadership. So, and I think the other thing that we had to do in our multitude of meetings with DESI is, you know, be able to demonstrate that we have the financial wherewithal to make this possible and show them, you know, kind of show your work and our long-term planning of why we're not going to need that borrowing source going forward. Any questions at this point?
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you have a long-term outlook? And I ask that question because looking at your district totals by month on this page here,
The blue one?
the blue one,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're down from last year for the first 3 months of the school year anyway, because that's what's listed here for 23. But you're down 164 students.
Oh,
And if you look at the elementary to the middle school to the high school, and I wrote this down earlier from previous notes, you're averaging, actually you're actually averaging an increase through middle school, but when it comes to 9, 10, 11, and 12, your average is negative 68 students per year for the last 6 years. So I'm trying to, what's the long-term outlook on that? And I'm going by, not on,
Oh, I was gonna say.
no, not on here.
Okay.
This was numbers I got from previous budgets and student count. My point was, you're retaining a lot of students all the way through middle school, and then once 9th grade comes,
Yeah.
where are they going?
Do you want me to let me do it?
Sure. I mean, I can start and you can jump in at any point. So, I mean, I think that is a great question. So I think where they're going, to answer that question first, I mean, I think that especially in the between FY22 to the FY23 year, right, there was a large amount of students that chose to go to the tech school. And so that's an important piece of work, right? Now, I think 2 things need to be said about that. One, for the students that the tech school is the absolute best choice for them, wonderful. You know, that's a wonderful opportunity, and the town's, you know, paying support for the tech school for a good reason, because for certain students that's the absolute best choice. And so for those students, they should go to the tech school. If there's students who are choosing the tech school because they're not having a good experience at PVRS, that's where we have work to do, right?
Well, that's more my question. Do you have a long-term to retain those students?
Yeah.
And maybe not necessarily stop them from going
Sure.
to tech school.
Yeah.
Like you said, tech school, I'm in full support of a tech school.
Yeah.
You should go and learn a trade and whatnot. But the kids that don't want to go to the tech school, where are they going? Because I'm sure 164 of them didn't go to the
So
tech
I
school.
don't know, the 164, these numbers, some of them are perplexing to me. I do want to point out to folks, September 22, on this enrollment sheet, we had 662 kids.
Right. In
District-wide.
September of this year, we had net
Right.
minus
And
6.
I
So
want to
that's
remind
right.
you that the Warwick kids left. So Warwick departed from the district,
Okay.
and so the 30 or so elementary students who had previously been at NES, who are residents of Warwick,
Mhm.
they are now at the Warwick Community School. So we knew that
Okay,
drop
so
was
those
coming.
numbers, all right.
So that's a significant portion.
Sure.
We had an increase, an almost doubling of kids from Warwick. Exactly as Jordan says, the vast majority of kids who leave us from between 8th and 9th grade go to the tech school. Okay? For the first time, as far as I can tell, we are doing some in-depth number crunching around that, right? And have analyzed, I don't know, I've done the past, I don't know how many years, sort of what is the percentage of kids in 8th grade who leave. We always have a few kids who go to NMH, particularly because their parents work there. And so they're with us until they're, they can go to NMH, their parents are there. We don't have a lot of kids who go to charter schools. We have a few usually, but that population has been kind of surprisingly very stable, the number of kids overall who go. A few kids go to Stoneleigh Burnham. We get kids who come back to us from the tech school. We have kids who come to us mid-year from various local schools. So what I mentioned briefly earlier, tonight's meeting with grade 8 families is just one small piece of our effort to understand more Why are kids leaving? As far as I can tell, we haven't systematically asked these important questions. What about Pioneer makes you feel great, 7th and 8th grade students? What doesn't make you feel great? What would make our educational experience better? Our new principal and his dean of students are meeting in small groups with every single 8th grader to ask these questions. This is at my request. They're documenting it. Teachers are calling the families of every 8th grade student to talk with parents and guardians and ask similar questions. What's great about Pioneer and what's not so great? And we have to be strong enough to hear some of the hard answers. So I don't want to jump the gun in terms of saying, so we are therefore going to do X, Y, and Z. Having said that, we do know some of what the kids want. They do want more hands-on experience. They want to get outside more. They want to feel like the culture is even more positive. Those are 3 big pieces. So our new administrators are doing what are called entry plans. A lot of my Pioneer principal's work is around this 8th grade question, and he'll be presenting the results of his entry plan in public in January to the school committee, and we'll make all of those reports available online. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, that's what I'm after. What's the long term? Like,
Yeah.
what is your forecast? If you continue to drop this enrollment as rapidly as it's been dropped, and believe me, I've been on the finance committee for here in Bernardston for a long time, and I've seen that enrollment significantly drop over the last 12, 15 years. And nothing was ever like, how do we retain those students? At the same time, and to play devil's advocate like Ken was doing, at the same time that significant drop in enrollment was going, the cost of the school was significantly rising over that same time for a lot less students, and I'm trying to fill that gap. And where is the...
These are exactly the questions. And I don't want to, I have to be careful. Gosh, it would have been great if we'd been asking and answering these questions 5, 6 years ago. And we weren't, and that's
I
our
can tell
reality.
you the finance committee in Bernardston have been asking
I know, I didn't mean it like that.
15 years, but no, I know what you're
I meant the
saying.
district. You all have been doing your good work. And so, we're working with what we have.
Yeah.
And again, the past 2 years have been about, oh my gosh, HR, facilities, transport, like all these systems. Now I'm able, because we've got a full admin team, we've got a great director of teaching learning and a great director of student services, we've got our money guy. Now I can turn my attention to, okay, let's keep those kids. What do we got to do? How do we have to improve our curriculum? Last year, we invited our Pioneer faculty to suggest new courses they'd like to teach. And from what people told me, that hadn't happened in many years. We approved 8 new courses, some of which are among the most popular electives at the school.
That's great.
A year-long personal finance class that juniors and seniors can take as a math elective. Every parent we talked to is thrilled about the idea that their kids who are enrolled are learning how to balance a checkbook. Yeah, we still got to balance checkbooks. How do you think about college debt? How do you fill out a loan application? The woodshop classes have been among the most popular electives. We're doing an intro to coding course. So it will take time. I am grateful that the towns have hung in there with us. I should have started with that, because it has been rocky.
Okay, can we get back to the presentation? We're not trying to rush it, but we got more business.
All right, Jen, I know, Jordan's not gonna win his bet around time if I keep talking.
Melissa has a specific way she's measuring it, I'm
We
sure.
got an over and under here?
You're only at 25 minutes.
Oh, okay, all right, keep going.
Good.
25 minutes.
Right, so, wonderful. So, the next aspect, we're going to discuss is fund balances. As Mayor know, with the Warwick transition agreement, we're returning 8.6% of our fund balances to Warwick. And so, at the same time, as we were analyzing that, we also wanted to analyze what would be an appropriate amount of our fund balances returned to our remaining member towns. And after an extensive process of looking at that and engaging in some long-term planning, we determined that we'd be able to return $500,000 to our member towns while also making $615,000 in investments and providing us fund balances of over $2 million for the long-term operation of the district. So obviously having fund balances is important to have a healthy district. And
Jordan,
yep.
if we have fund balances, why did we have to borrow from the state?
Well, that's part of the problem.
That
is we
goes
did-
back way back. Let me get into, this goes back, way back when we got in trouble with our lunch program, or
Sure.
we were
I
$1
understand,
million
but there's
in
a-
a hole. We
if
didn't
you-
have fund
you got money
balances
in the
back
bank.
then.
That was in 2018.
Right,
And there wasn't money in the bank in 2018.
exactly.
Exactly.
Otherwise,
Had they had a nice balance,
right,
they
so
could have.
that's the point. So that's why you maintain appropriate fund balances and have knowledge of them so that you won't get in that trouble. But, right, so in 2018, all the fund balances were depleted, and so you had to do deficit borrowing. But now we're in a position where DESI sees that we have greater financial health, so we don't need that state note anymore, and we have appropriate fund balances if anything unplanned does happen. And so given that fact that we both have strong balances and feel like we have more than enough to continue to operate the district, it's appropriate to return some of those balances to the towns. So $500,000 back to the towns there in slide 11 and the investments we'll talk about. But the overall financial benefit to the town of Bernardston is $297,961. I know you care very much about your other towns, but I'm sure mostly about Bernardston, so I think that's the number I'll emphasize on that slide.
When?
Well, the assessments, the new assessment amounts, the reduced assessments will go out on the December 15th bill. So be on the lookout for that.
So the treasurers have not been advised what the new amount is going to be yet?
That's true. Well, things take time, but December 15th is coming right up, so they will be advised of the, well, I mean, the new amount is the amount that's written down, so I guess I should say that. I
So
mean, we've made
what-
public the amount, but we just haven't sent the bill. So
It might be good to make very clear that there's the reduction in
Sure.
assessments and a check.
right,
There's
so,
two ways you're getting
We
money.
realize that. We all realize that.
great.
My point is that it'd be nice if the treasurer knew ahead of time what the payment was going to have to be.
Well, they'll know because they'll get the bill. So they'll get a bill sent on December 15th with the new amount.
Due when?
Geez, when is the assessment due? I'd have to look it up. I don't pay them, so I'm not sure.
You know, if you have to balance your budget, if you have to
Yeah.
move funds
I-
from one account to another, if you
Sure.
have to borrow some
Well,
money,
there's five,
it'd be
yeah.
nice to know.
I would assume January 15th.
Yeah.
Or no,
Okay, well, let me just get back.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
So we're gonna get a check for 297?
No,
You're not.
no.
Okay,
We're
good.
gonna get a check for approximately, so we do have to certify our access deficiency in the next couple of weeks, but you'll get a check for approximately $202,150.
Okay.
You'll have reduced assessments of approximate, of 95,000, yeah, 811. So your assessments will go down and you'll get a $202,000 check. Right, so we'll certify Indy in the next couple of weeks.
Is there somewhere in this presentation what justifies 297 for Bernardston versus 379 for Northfield?
Yeah, so that's based on the assessment percentage.
On your blue sheet.
Assessment percentage this year?
Yeah,
On this other blue sheet.
Okay.
yeah. So, right, that is how the return will happen. Right, so continuing, so in terms of investments, the areas that we're going to focus that $615,000 on are curriculum renewal, facilities at PVRS, right, the shared facility for the district, and staff compensation. So I think that, those are areas that I think everyone would agree are important for a successful school district. So we want to focus on those foundational areas. Obviously, as Patricia mentioned numerous times, we have a new director of teaching and learning. So it's an appropriate time to invest in curriculum. I think that most people would say that there potentially has been underinvestment, so we want to make those investments because, schools, learning is important.
How are you gonna go
Folks.
about doing the staff compensation?
Well, through collective bargaining, because that's the only way to do it.
That has a problem for me. I mean, I don't have a problem if we were to say, okay, we're gonna give a bonus, I don't know if it's even legal to do that, a bonus out to the teachers. could do this, that, but when we put it into a contract, if we open up the contract and put it in it, we pay for that forever, because now that's an increase in their pay, and that goes on and on and on. If we were just to give them a bonus, because we were able to get this extra money, then that's just a one-time deal, and it goes away. It doesn't change the next contract, it doesn't change that, so that would be my thought, that's all.
Sure, and we're not gonna say a ton about negotiations because we can't. However, what I can say is that whatever the outcome of the negotiations is, it will, like, a lot of this is, it'll be our responsibility as an administrative team to continue to make assessments reasonable. We do understand that large assessment increases are difficult or impossible to swallow for the town. So we get that. That will be in the forefront of our mind. Whatever we do needs to be sustainable. The fund balances help defray it and help make it manageable, but we do understand that we can't negotiate something that leads to huge assessment increases for the towns, and I'll kind of get to that in a couple slides. But point well taken, and we're on the same page there.
Okay.
So, overall, again, going back to the summary, what was enacted at the 10/26 meeting, paid off the state note, $198,000, returned funds to the town, $740,214, and a commitment to make investments. And I think, some of the questions about how are we going to retain students that's some of our focus of those investments, right? Curriculum improvement, like Patricia mentioned, the Aux gym, making other investments like that. That are student-facing and impact students directly, I anticipate will help with student retention as well. Budget process, so we have the calendar.
Are you guys like reading the fairy tale thing, or about the wolf and the Little Red Riding Hood?
Are they cute or what?
Yeah, Little Red Riding Hood's all going
So
through the woods.
do you know what that is? That's our preschool kids. We bought Gore-Tex rain suits for preschoolers and neoprene boots. Those are preschoolers who went out for an hour and a quarter in the rain in the trails behind the Dickinson Library.
I can't show it to the people on the screen, but it just looked kind of
Pretty
cute
darn
that
cute, aren't
everybody going out to grandma's house to see the big bad wolf.
So Stan, the little ones over here wear blue.
Now, one of my favorite movies, especially around the holidays, is The Grinch, and I feel like we're having a replay of that right now. Stan's heart is growing 3 sizes right before us tonight, and this is a memorable meeting if for nothing else.
Tying on the reindeer, Cindy.
Coming down the mountain to see the little Who's in their little red suits. This is beautiful, Stan. I'm glad I was a part of this. So wonderful stuff. So budget process, we want to mention this because, I think it's important to emphasize, and you all should expect that we're following a consistent process and getting input from all stakeholders before actually developing the budget, right? So that's been our process, right? Visiting the towns, obviously this is the third meeting of those, but we've also worked with our staff, faculty and staff to get feedback from surveys, worked with all of our different budget holders to get all of their input. So that's really been the process, and obviously our bi-monthly subcommittee meetings. But overall, before even developing the first iteration of the budget, what we've tried to do is gather as much information as we can from all of our respective stakeholders to ensure that starting right from the beginning, before we have a single budget, that we have feedback from everybody, and we can develop a budget that takes into account everyone's concerns and aspirations, etc.
And could we do a shout out to Brian?
Yeah.
Because you can see the calendar of budget meetings, and your colleague Brian Keir is at the table at these public meetings of the budget subcommittee, and I'd like to thank him personally for being such an active participant and making sure that Bernardston is well represented at the budget table.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, it's very important. And one of the key components of this budget process is for the FY25, what we plan to recommend to the school committee for their approval is a target assessment increase of 3%. So, point well taken. What I think Stan was alluding to. Whatever we do, no matter how aspirational we are, we also need to be reasonable and affordable for the town. So we understand that. We think that ultimately, by having some best-in-class programming, wonderful staff, and making investments in key areas, we can help retain students. But we also know that we need to do that by being extremely efficient and slowing and having, I guess, appropriate assessment growth. So we do understand that. We're going to do a lot of great things, but we know that we need to ultimately be focused on the bottom line.
When you talk about that 3%, and you talked earlier about one of the reasons why we were able to get money back and whatnot is because we had an increase of 90% for our transportation costs. Do you feel that's going to continue at that level?
Good
Or-
question.
Yeah, so I mean, these are questions that every district wants to know. So a few weeks ago, I was at the a meeting with many of the other regional schools in the area, with attended by leaders and administrators in all those districts, and Ann Goby and different people from the state. And I mean, I think that that's what all the districts want. It's wonderful when this stuff happens and there's an increased focus in our area. But we would love to have a better idea of what it's going to be year to year, whether it be transportation or rural aid. And I think the answer right now, unfortunately, is there's no commitment to make any of those things more predictable. But at the same time, everybody does realize this issue, right? Whether it's rural aid or the transportation, it's wonderful. We appreciate it. It'd be great to know what it's going to be next year ahead of time, or when you're developing your budget. But I think that we can probably be a little more aggressive in our budgeting. Maybe we could say instead of 75%, we hope it's 80%. But there's certainly nothing in writing that says they can't go back to 75%.
Yeah, that's kind of a fear to see where they're going to go.
What's that?
They can go wherever they want to.
They can go wherever they want.
Oh,
That's it.
we're aware of that, but I just was wondering if there was some census out there already from the senators, representatives and whatnot. They're going to be pushing, not just pushing, but they've got some sort of a idea it's going to continue that way. Because if we're setting ourselves up for trying to follow what's just happened this past year with the state, and they don't continue, we could set ourselves up for a big fall.
Yeah, we don't want to set up.
That's
for
not
that.
how I'm budgeting.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
not
being conservative.
counting on 90% because I think that would be foolish potentially.
And Stan, Jordan was at one meeting, I went to another last week, I think, with just a few local superintendents were invited, with Representative Whips, Representative Blaze, and Senator Garlick, who is the chair of the Joint Committee on Education on Beacon Hill, and a consistent message from all of us. Transportation, that was great this year at 90%, but if we can't plan on it, we can't plan on it. Same thing with the increase in rural aid. Thank you, we appreciate it, but if you don't tell us, if we can't know ahead of time, we can't budget appropriately.
Good.
Can I make one other comment?
Yes, you can.
You realize when you present 3% and you adopt a 3% increase, it's greater than that to each town when we get our assessments.
Well, if it's greater to some towns, it has to be less than others.
The calculation comes out so that we are paying more than 3%, and so is Northfield. So I don't know, I don't want to get into the mathematics of it, I'm just making a point.
Yeah.
And we all are aware of this.
Yeah, address that. Fix that.
But I think mathematically it's impossible for it to be 3% and to be more than 3% for every town. I am just from and Jane, like
It's
myself.
not logical, but it happens every year.
Well, and after talking to Jane before the meeting, I know foundationally she has extremely strong math because she was also raised in Central New York. So I know the rigor of our education system, Jane. So I trust what Jane says mathematically. But she does. I mean, north side of Syracuse, those are some great schools, and especially during your era. So
Okay.
But so yes, 3% is the goal.
Overall.
Yes, right. And so the next slide I tried to create a comparison here between the revised assessments. So when we say 3%, we're saying 3% more than the reduced assessments, not 3% more than the original assessments. So
That's a keynote.
that is it. There we go. Thank you, Brian. Vote of confidence from Brian. I'm taking that. if you compare the 3% increase to the originally adopted $8,774,112 assessment number on the bottom half of that slide, it's actually less than 1% increase from the original adopted budget. So just putting that into a different context, if in fact the tax rates are based on that original amount, the true impact is less than 1% on the residents of the town. So I think that that's important. And I think when talking about assessments, one other piece that's important is after the reduction in assessments, Bernardston's year-to-year assessment increase. Well, you can't look at your sheets, but who can guess what it was? Year-to-year assessment increase from FY23 to FY24 on a percentage basis.
2%.
It's just less
If you can give me the difference between what it was and 2%, I'd be a wealthy man. It's 0.65%. So FY23 to FY24, 0.65%. And then the increase going to FY25, our target is 3%. So that would be, I know how percentages work, but overall, an average between the 2 years of less than 2%. So I think that's good news. And I know now that your heart's warm, Stan, you can't keep smiling, right?
Well, I could ask you a question. On your 6-cylinder car, you got 6 cylinders.
I have a 4-cylinder car.
How many cylinders come to the top at once?
I've got
There you go.
absolutely no idea.
Now you're okay. Accountant stands like that.
I've got no, and I'm cheap on the gas, so I'm only going to have a 4-cylinder anyway.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
I think that the next area, and I'm trying to rush through because I know it's taking a little longer than anticipated, but the facilities master plan. So we are coming really to the end of a extremely informative process that has had a thorough evaluation of all of our facilities and a real in-depth look at the deferred maintenance that's accumulated over time and what expenses we might have coming down the pipeline. So on that slide 19, that bottom number under the estimated project cost total, it says includes 80%. So for our 3 buildings, over the next 10 years, an estimate that might cost $39 million to keep all of the different systems running as they need to be. Importantly, that doesn't include kitchen appliances, but
That's probably right.
So we got this slide that you see here. Brian, you saw the earlier slides. Those were the draft numbers.
Yep.
We received the final versions of the reports electronically yesterday. So there was a lot of printing in my office. We will deliver to Bernardston several binders with paper copies of the 70 to 100 page report on BES, and we'll give you the report on Pioneer, and we'll send you the electronic versions. But I'd like to wait until Paul Mills of Cannon Design presents it on the 14th. But you will have paper copies and electronic copies to just go through and see everything.
That was a more in-depth, what they did on each building.
Yes,
Yep. Okay.
yes.
And I think, without going into great detail, because there certainly isn't time or scope for that, but the point of this slide really is to say that, whatever decision we take going forward, doing nothing still costs a lot of money, right? In terms of doing nothing, in terms of what, changing any configurations or number of buildings or any of the options that we'll talk about on the next slide. There are going to be expenses with maintaining our current configuration, significant multi-million-dollar expenses over the next 10 years to keep these buildings able to provide the quality of education our students need. And so...
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
These numbers include all 3 buildings,
Yes, they do.
Yes.
so it's not district costs that we're looking at here because NES and VES are the responsibilities of the town.
Yep.
Yes.
So that needs to be pulled out of these numbers if we want to know district costs, right?
We have, we just took one screenshot. They do a complete analysis of just BES, just NES, just PBRS, and then they have a separate, smaller report that puts it all together, and that's where we pulled this particular screenshot from.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And then, there's the different options of, on slide 20 here, of how we might configure the district. And I know there's different opinions at the last meeting. There did seem to be some level of strong support of having a single campus, and obviously there's interest in knowing, well, how might that be done in a way that's reasonably priced, right? Because there's a big upfront capital cost that would be paid for a long time of making that type of decision. And I think that'll be one of the priorities of our entire budget process, is whatever option is recommended, developing planning for how to make that as affordable as possible and going forward, right? Because if, for example, we did choose to have a single campus, obviously there would be significant cost savings, and we understand that to make the project affordable, we would need to be extremely efficient in how we operate the district to help reduce operating costs, so that some of those capital costs could essentially be defrayed. And that isn't even taking into account the potential state support. So I know that the $5 signs are scary for anyone, especially small towns, but I think that there'll be multiple ways to look at that, where it might not be quite as intimidating, especially when looking at some of the deferred maintenance and costs of upkeep in the existing buildings as they are. So we do realize that whatever outcome needs to remain affordable, and hopefully we can get to a place where the option that provides the best facilities also provides the most reasonable cost for the towns. So, and I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities. So yeah, as I said, coming to the end of the process, we're almost to the end of November, getting close to December 1st, Friday, and the final iteration of the district planning committee. This says 12-4, but I believe it's 12-6. That's my fault for not.
12-5.
It's 12-5. There we go.
All right, so next Tuesday is a 4-hour meeting. We'll feed you, Brian. And then the following Thursday is the presentation. And just a quick reminder that Jordan spoke earlier about the ESSER 3 money, which is the COVID relief money for schools from the federal government. As soon as I came in, I kind of closed the piggy bank there on ESSER money and made clear we needed to think strategically about use. And because we were strategic, we had enough money to do this review of buildings. So it was $120,000. And we are delighted that you are such good partners to the district. We are really happy that we can give to the towns these reports on the buildings that you own. No matter what happens, we hope that the reports will help the towns plan for long-term thinking about what's needed, what choices the towns want to make. So just a quick reminder, this entire process was enabled through strategic use of COVID relief money.
Okay.
Right, and then on December 14th, Paul Mills, 14th and
14th, and then we're going to invite town representatives, if you would like, on that Friday to come and meet with Paul Mills in person, hear straight from the horse's mouth, as it were, ask him questions. We'll have paper copies of the reports for you to take away, and we're going to make him available to our faculty and staff that afternoon as well.
And keeping on that idea of facilities and planning, Northfield requested some idea of capital projects, so we put together something for you as well. And thinking about capital projects while also doing the facilities master plan, we know it's not a time to make huge investments because we need to ultimately decide where we're going in terms of facilities. But obviously some of the more basic stuff for the operation, we wanted to bring forward for your consideration for your long-term planning as well. And some of the projects we've been looking at are mini splits, additional mini splits. I know the town already put some in, and springs and late falls continue to be much hotter than they were certainly when I was a student, and so it's important for education, Whiteboards is another area where there's still some chalkboards that we'd like to consider replacing the whiteboards. Lighting in the main foyer to make
I thought we did that.
We did.
some of it, but there's, and probably given the length of time we've already spent, maybe not a conversation for right now, but
Okay,
we can
yeah.
discuss more.
Yeah.
You know, I know playground, we've discussed that, gone back and forth and about possible ways, grant funding, et cetera, but I just want to kind of keep it on the at the forefront that there might be some consideration of doing something there for the students. You know, we have a dishwasher issue that is chronic and potentially could be done this year.
That hasn't been done.
That hasn't been done. Yeah, it's not.
Okay, so you're saying that, okay, yeah, but we can talk about that another time. We don't need
Yep,
to talk
sure.
about that tonight.
Sure, I just wanted to at least start putting some of the ideas out there for you all's consideration. I know we can meet.
You could shoot us something on what's going on with the dishwasher, though, that would be a good start.
Yep.
Okay.
It doesn't work.
We'll just send it to Karen, and we can.
Is there any questions from people? You have a question?
I do not.
No. Okay, I think I had three, but you were good enough to answer those already, so I'm happy with that. I appreciate you folks coming tonight, sitting down, talking to us. And I hope this continues the way we're doing business. I mean, we're not gonna be happy about everything that we do. That's just the way it is, and we have to move past that.
Sure.
When it gets to that point, but I do appreciate the tone that we've had over the last couple years, sitting down and discussing things. And again, even though we don't agree, but we still better to discuss them. I know Brian's been a big part
He sure has.
of working with the committees and stuff, and we're lucky we have him, because he comes back and he reports back to us. Jane, you have a question?
Yeah, it was pre-K is included in these totals on this blue sheet. I thought pre-K was self-supporting,
No,
no more.
no.
No, I don't think that this enrollment report doesn't distinguish between, this is all the kids in the district. It doesn't distinguish between where they come from, school
This isn't the
choice.
enrollment report that's used to calculate assessments to the towns, in other words.
This includes all the kids who choice into the district, so we wouldn't be using these exact numbers.
Right, okay. That's my question, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else you gentlemen want to make any comments, or hearing none? I guess we're all set, and again, we
Thanks.
appreciate you guys for
Thank you.
coming.
Do you want
and,
to talk about the pumps?
I
know you said-
Oh, the pump.
The septic pumps, we said we were putting off for this discussion, too.
They're putting off.
The septic.
Oh, they're paying for it. I don't have a problem. They caused a problem. We already paid for the first ones. Well, we might be able to meet you halfway. Okay, we'll discuss that.
You want to discuss it now?
Might as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
yeah, okay. I say you pay for it.
All right. And that's a good starting point.
And a good place to end.
Sure.
Quick!
Yeah, this is
What we're
good.
talking about, folks, is so people on out in the TV know, we had a septic issue at the school. The pumps that pump the septic systems from the
From the holding tank to the leach
holding
field.
tank to the leach field stopped working. So we had to have both of them placed. It was a long process. We even had a crane come in to put them down the hole. And then shortly after we put them in I wouldn't say shortly, maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe.
Well, I mean, you had the summer intervening, so maybe
Yeah.
it was 4 months, but
Yeah.
4.5.
Anyways, shortly after putting them in, the septic started backing up. So they found out that a pump wasn't working. So they came back and looked at it and thought they had a solution to it. And that wasn't a solution because it backed up again. And the next time it backed up, they discovered that it burnt out the pumps, these 2 brand new pumps. And so they had to take them out, order new pumps, put them in there, and they found out what it was they were being clogged by stuff that was being put down the system that shouldn't be being put down the system, and that's what caused it. I don't think there was filters put in to try to prevent some of that, or did they put filters in the new one?
No, they would like to put filters in.
They'd like to put a pre-filter in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would cost more money.
Yeah, because, well, anyways, that's what we're talking about, folks, here, and I shouldn't say we are, I would say that, I am saying that we paid the first time, your district needs to pay the second time.
And I appreciate that benevolence to pay for the first, but we don't really have a mechanism to pay. I mean, we have money, but the problem is we can't use district money to pay for capital at school buildings that we don't own. It's not, according to the definition of capital by everyone's overlord, DESI, right? So, I mean, if it costs more than $5,000 and it has a useful life of more than a year, it's capital. That's the definition, and we don't control the definition. We can not like it, but that is the definition. So it's capital, it's equipment, it's durable. It's equipment that's going to last over a year. Similar to John not wanting to be behind bars. I have to follow the rules and the laws as well. And
I can make more muffins.
And I can't reasonably record that as a non-capital item. When I record it, I have to record it accurately, and it's capital. And so we could pay for, we have the money to pay for it, but we'd have to be reimbursed. We could pay for it through E&D, but it's going to go to a capital line, and since it's an individual building, we have to be reimbursed. I mean, it's unfortunate how it happened, and it's unfortunate that it happened so quickly. And I think, not a septic, expert, but I think that probably does allude to the fact that maybe it does need the pre-filtering because of, for whatever reason, the different stuff that's being flushed down the toilet is clogging these filters. And it was both filters and the electrical panel, so it was 2 filters and an electrical panel, and it's a lot of money. I'm with you, but
What was the total price?
$18,700.
And people are wondering why it wasn't under warranty. It is because they deem it to be user error.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's not under warranty. Thoughts, gentlemen?
How much did the filters cost?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
The filters. How much do the filters cost?
Including installation.
You're talking about the filters that have never been installed before. How much would those be in
The
addition?
pre-filtering that was recommended by somebody.
Did they give you a price on that one?
I don't have a price in my notes. I know the pumps and the electrical panel and everything was $18,700, but I don't know the pre-filtering.
And
Yeah,
that
new
work's been
pumps.
done,
Yeah,
so that people can flush the toilets, yes.
that's true.
Yeah, they can continue to put stuff down.
This is so tough,
Belch
so
down
expensive.
Belching town.
My understanding is that, my first question was, why is anybody flushing anything that should? There are signs up in the bathrooms. They've done education with the kids. They've done education with the staff. I can ask again. I can do a tour. I will go out and look in all the bathrooms and make sure that all the signs are up.
Is there receptacles?
I believe there are, but you know what? I will go myself and check in every bathroom. So then the question is, one question is,
There's got to be some
gotta be-
compensation coming back to Bernardston here. There's got to be something that the district can do to help Bernardston through this dilemma.
Well,
It has to be. It just
Sure.
can't be. It
I
just
mean-
can't
yeah,
be.
let's
This
see
can't
what
be
we
no.
can figure out.
Huh?
Let's see what we can figure out.
Insurance doesn't cover any of it?
No, it's user error. I mean, they got the evidence. They took the pictures. I mean, they got the. It's not like.
to some extent, yes. I mean,
If this were a big, just hang with me for a sec. If this were, let's say, a city building on city sewer or something, people behave the way they behave, right? Like, we got little kids, we got big kids, we got young girls who are, is there something about this system that is inherently a little bit weak? Because, again, people use bathrooms the way they use bathrooms. We can do all the community education we possibly can. We can make sure the receptacles are there, that they're cleaned, emptied daily so it's not gross. And is there something about this septic system that leaves us vulnerable to ongoing problems?
Yeah, no pre-filter.
Yeah, no pre-filter. I mean, the system is old. I mean, I think that's.
Why didn't they recommend that on the initial install?
They may have. I wasn't present. I would assume they might have, but I think that it's probably. I mean,
That was so far long ago, none of us would know that answer, and it wasn't brought up on the pumps were being replaced. Nobody mentioned to us that there was
Oh,
no
really?
pre-filter.
So does the pre-filter go near the septic tank, or is it something that's inside the building?
I would assume it's near the tank,
Near the
but I
tank?
don't know that.
So we
right, so it doesn't get to the leach field
Right.
or the pumps.
In this case, it wouldn't go through the pumps, it would be before the
So
pumps.
it's not gonna get done till next spring anyway? You're not gonna dig up to do this?
And then Jordan,
Unless it's
if
internal to the tank, that's just
Yeah.
a manhole cover.
Yeah.
so that was going to be my question, Brian. If the pre-filters are installed, do we know what the maintenance cycle is on them? I'm assuming there needs to be a recurring,
Yes,
get the stuff out of the,
yes, yes. They, every time you have your septic pump, they check them.
okay.
That's what they do even at a house. Septic systems today most of them have a filter in them to keep stuff from going out into the
Yeah.
leach field, and those are checked every time your septic's pumped.
Gretchen should easily be able to get that from Quabbin.
Sure. Yeah, the estimate on the pre-filters, and
I never did see a quote on the pre-filter.
I wrote that
What
down.
about if we get, I'm gonna go
So where do we stand with the monies?
and I'll send information. What if we get the information on the pre-filter, and then come back to you with that?
Yeah,
So
and-
that we have all the information we need to have a full conversation.
Fair.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should have, there should be something that comes back, because I understand we're gonna have to pay something. I mean, it'd be nice not to, but we understand we're gonna have to. But
Yep.
let's see if we can
Okay.
make us a little bit happier.
Can I ask another question? You replace these pumps in the first time they failed, and you replaced them, what month was that?
I don't know.
Have to look up the bill.
April or May.
April
I was
or May?
thinking, yeah, it was this
And then you had to replace them in October,
September,
September.
September 20th.
So we can predict
No,
that they're going to fail again in February.
no, because they probably didn't fail they might have not failed for 2 decades for all I know, but,
The other ones didn't,
yeah, so it's not, this isn't the normal lifespan of the pumps.
no.
But maybe there's been a change in behavior over the last 20 years, so that there's more paper-based items that get clogged in the pumps than did 20 years ago, and so maybe the pre-filters are a smart choice. Maybe it's just the overall health of the of old stuff. I mean, I think that's the issue we're dealing with in all of our buildings is. Sometimes specific parts of a system fail more regularly because the system isn't in great health. But we're hoping to add something to the system to aid it.
If the problem is wipes, pre-filters are going to have to be cleaned more often than pump. I have a
That's a discussion to have with the professionals.
Yeah.
We can sit here and we can
Yeah.
debate it
Sure.
all
I
night
agree.
long, we're not gonna
Great.
get an answer out of that. Any other questions have come on this one? Okay, you're gonna get back to us on your findings?
Pre-filter and that.
Okay,
Yep.
very good, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Good thing you brought it up.
Well,
Yeah.
I had to get everybody in a good mood for
Huh?
Almost there.
Named on the
There
end.
you go.
That is the new town
Karen.
of Ginsburg.
Karen.
Karen, I'm going to send you, nice to meet you in person. I'm going to send you these slides electronically in case you wanted to post them up.
Okay, folks, we need to move on to our next part of our agenda, and I gotta get reorganized here real quick to get that going, because I'm sure people are getting antsy and wanting us to get off this TV.
Chris is up, I think.
Huh?
Chris is coming.
Chris is
We call
coming.
this the lightning round, Stan?
Lightning round, yes. That's a good.
Okay, next up we have our town clerk, Christina Slocum-Wisk, and she's here to provide us an update on the board, town boards, committees, and commission vacancies. Shoot.
You guys have the list that I gave?
Oh, no, you gotta do it from memory.
Yes.
Because I don't have it. I thought you guys were gonna read them out loud of what positions are open. Sorry.
Let me read them, Stan. I got the sheet
Yeah.
here. Okay, elected positions currently open. 2 Powers Institute trustees. 1 term ending in 2024, 1 term ending in 2026. Appointed positions currently open. 1-year terms. 1 ADA coordinator. 1 affirmative action officer. 1 emergency management committee member. 2 Franklin County solid waste representatives. 1 Franklin Regional Council of Governments Council representative alternate. 1 FERCOG Franklin County Cooperative Inspection Program representative. For 3-year terms for appointed positions. 1 Conservation Commission member. 1 Historical Commission member. 1 Local Cultural Council member. 1 Public Records Officer. And Zoning Board of Appeals ?
That's the page before it.
Okay.
And some of those positions Lou actually had,
Did.
so I'm not sure where we're gonna go with those, so.
And the other ones on this page, which I think involves Chris as well, appointed election poll workers.
We need to.
Did we have one for an
You
appointment?
have one to,
That's down further in the agenda, yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So that's what's open currently.
Does the historical commission include the most recent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is a shame.
So,
Those up on our website?
not yet.
Okay.
We will get them up there.
But I think to Chris's point, I think Lou used to be the ADA coordinator and the affirmative action officer,
Correct.
both. Just
Yeah,
quasi, just part of the deal.
I have no problem if it's
True.
the way you want to go.
Yep.
I can take
But
this
we
on.
need to have people appointed, actually, so.
In the emergency management, we did ask Peter Shedd when Bill, this is, I'm assuming Bill Montiglio's position he resigned?
Yes.
And Pete thought he was good with what it was for the short term.
I spoke to him directly about
Okay.
it and asked him if he needed a replacement. He said no. Not at
So
this
for
time.
now,
So we just gotta,
he's, I mean, we have to keep it there obviously because it's part of the
yeah, okay.
deal, but he thinks he's okay for now. But if there is a volunteer out there that wants to do it,
Sure.
reach
Yeah.
out to Chris or Karen, I would think, right? Or Pete directly, right, for more information on what it even means to them.
Right. Yep, so those are the positions. I have one person to have you appoint. As the elections are coming up, we're allowed to have 2 teenagers, 16 or 17 years old, that can work as poll workers, but only 2. And so Ethan Beliski of Bald Mountain Road, he is 17 years old right now, but I believe he's actually going to be 18 before the election. But he wants to be appointed as a poll worker.
That's great.
And what I'll do is, if we get a second student who wants to be a poll worker, I'm preferring somebody from Bernardston. So if there's any students out there that are 16 or 17 years old and want to be involved with the polling place, I would schedule them for after school hours, obviously not during the day when they should be in school. They can come see me and we'll see what happens.
And I think for some of them, they have to do so many community service hours. I wonder if some of that would count during the
I
school
don't
day.
see why
toward
it couldn't count, sure.
It might. I think that's a requirement of graduation now.
Yep.
Do we have a motion on Ethan Belinsky?
I would move that Ethan Beliski be appointed poll worker for a 1-year term.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. With the current passing of Luella Atherton, I reached out to the Historical Commission to see, just to let them know that they may need to reorganize and figure out what they're gonna do. So they're all aware of that. They usually only meet once a year. I know that in other municipalities, the historical commission can actually be very involved with planning process and helping to preserve properties. So I didn't know if they wanted to move on to a more bigger capacity of what they actually can do as a committee or a commission. So that's up to them, obviously. The other thing I have is, I'm very glad that this past week is over with, because we were up to our eyeballs with initiative petitions and trying to get those all done and out the door. The Elections Division has informed us that they're going to be replacing all our state computer system in our office in December. And so we have an opportunity. They're saying that we could keep the monitor and the printer. There's a need, and it's a laser printer, high capacity. If we want to keep those, if we have a need somewhere in any of the other departments.
Like in the office.
we'll just have to
Repurpose
let
them to
know.
another department you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't need it, and they're going to bring in all new equipment anyways. They're also in the process of updating to new software, which they're going to release right before the election also, like in January, beginning of January. So we're going to be on a learning curve with new information. And the Vitals Department, the Vitals of Records and Statistics, they are also going to be releasing new software for us. Most of it is going to affect the beginning people that have to do the pronouncement of death. So they're going to release just the death aspect first, and it actually is going to speed up the process of getting everything processed through their system to us, because right now sometimes it'll take a week or so before I finally get any death certificates on my end, because it starts with the person who actually pronounces the death. So they're going to be making that more computerized. And I think lastly, I do have some things that you're going to need to sign. We completed the highway garage.
Yeah.
The insulation.
A journey.
So now we're going to have some paperwork that you're going to have to sign. I'm not going to have you do it right this minute, but and I also have the final bill, but we'll have to discuss that and where we're going to pay the funding for the part that it wasn't covered for the insulation.
That was what,
So,
14?
and I want to show you, this is what our town drop box is going to look like. These are the side panels.
You're talking about the graphics, because
The
it's already out
graphics
there.
were on it, yes.
Maybe you can show that on that camera too.
If I hold it there, Tyler.
This is the drop box, folks, that's outside the town hall. It'll finally have some labels on it so people will know what it is, but you'll be able to drop off your payments if the town hall's closed. Or
But no
drop off
cash.
your ballots,
Your ballots or anything
anything for the town hall.
Correct.
We'll
Just
announce it, right, when we're going live with it.
Right.
We'll let them know when they can use it.
You're already using it.
they're already using it.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Without the,
Yes, I found a
Marketing.
tax payment in there last week. Gave that to Mona.
How frequently do we open it?
Every day.
oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't aware.
I found the return envelope or the return sticker for UPS
Okay.
in there, because we weren't open on Friday and they came to pick up something to return, so that was in there. But anyways,
So, good.
so I think that's pretty much all I have.
What I have to go along with that is, we did reach out to the zoning board of appeals today, and we found out that they are still in existence. Did Jack get back to us?
Only when he spoke with you. I haven't
That-
heard from him since.
That was Mark.
Oh, no.
We still have not heard from Dan Devine, and we still are looking to do that. So if Dan, if you're listening, or if somebody's listening out there, no, we just need to have some contact with Dan Devine about when their next meeting's gonna be, and making sure everything is going well with them, and they should be meeting at least once a year to keep everything, the continuity going within their committee. So I'm glad to hear that couple of the board members still say that they're up and running, but
Okay. And the other thing is that I know that their clerk had resigned at least a year and a half ago. So they also will need to, somebody will have to step up and be the clerk or whatever, so. All right?
okay, very
Presume
good.
They're gonna have a meeting in order to need a clerk. though.
What's that?
They would presume that you would need a meeting in order to have a clerk.
Or a
Yes,
hearing.
they would have to have a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And who was the clerk?
Christina Costello?
Costello.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, the next order of business is we've got to look at the retail liquor licenses. And I will give you the names and we will maybe just vote at the end on and accept all of them at once. We have the Bernardston Veterans Organization. We have the Farm Table LLC. We have the Crumpton Fox Incorporated, which is Zeke's Smokehouse and Grill. And we have the Kringle Liquor Shop LLC. So
Would make a motion to grant retail liquor license renewals to the Bernardston Veterans Organization, the Farm Table, Crumpton Fox Club, and the Kringle Liquor Shop.
I'll second that.
hey, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I guess we have one here that's a seasonal retail liquor license renewal application. And this is for,
No, that's the form to send back. You just have to sign that.
Huh?
That's to send, we completed all the liquor licenses, so that's the letter that needs to go back to the state.
okay.
There's
very good.
nothing, yeah.
Nothing to do on it. I think we're getting there, folks. I don't think there's anything there we need.
That's just a spreadsheet showing you all the ones that we've issued.
Okay. And there's nothing there we need to sign.
With dates, expiration dates, so we don't miss anybody?
They're all the same, 31
Oh.
December 2024.
Okay.
Okay, that's all we have to sign on those. Put that back
I'll take
in
that whole folder. Thank you.
We have an MBI Broadband Infrastructure Gap Network Grant. Comcast is applying for a Broadband Infrastructure Gap Network Grant through the Massachusetts Broadband Institute and is asking that we sign a letter of support for the grant application. You folks, what's your pleasure?
Probably part of the money they're gonna use to fund.
Do we have a copy of the letter here?
Right.
No, we don't.
There is a letter with there.
There is a letter? I'll probably put it someplace where it doesn't belong. No, this is, in my capacity of chair, no, that's something else. You said you put one in here?
It was right where the tab was, to that.
It's probably in your big book.
We can, I can print off another one.
Entertainment licenses.
No, I don't see it here. Nope.
Sorry, whatever.
That is just a place marker for,
Okay.
that's just a place marker for something else, okay. Okay, I probably, so Stan will come back to that one. Senior Center chairs, we need to decide what we are gonna do with the old Senior Center chairs. Jennifer has provided pictures and she says about, it's a 50-50 split, half of them are are good, and they could go to auction as surplus, and the other half we can donate or dispose of. I say follow her recommendation and go and auction or offer them as surplus, and the other ones that aren't that good, just donate them or dispose of them.
So we need to declare them as surplus before she can auction them?
Yep.
So I would move that we declare the chairs that are in fact usable as surplus to allow Jennifer to auction them off.
I'll second that.
Okay, and before we get off that, what is she saying isn't usable? I mean, I see all chairs with stains in them. Yeah, some of the cloth chairs with stains.
I think just Stan has the.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have the pictures.
No.
Huh?
Stan
We don't
has
have the
it.
pictures.
You don't have the pictures?
That's okay. I'll take you on your
It's
word.
mainly with stains, and they're just,
Yeah, these must be the ones that she's saying that,
could be sold.
I think it's appropriate to.
Yep.
okay. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
That takes care of that one.
They're gonna go on Facebook or some sales.
Yeah. I'm not sure what we'll do with it yet.
I signed up for the municipal bids, we could go that route.
No, this is to sell, not buy.
You could sell the chairs on there too.
Yeah.
That's what Jim
Just sold
Use
it.
for
Palmieri
the-
told me, yeah.
For the charger?
Yes.
Yes, same
He
site.
gave me, he said, yeah, so I have an account if we want to go that route, to
Okay.
sell the chairs on that.
Okay, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office in charge of a work crew is looking for inside activities for the winter, and they would be happy to put together all the new chairs. So that's a
Would make a
positive.
motion to allow the Franklin County Sheriff's Office to provide a work crew to assemble the new chairs.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I've been having some conversation with Karen over updating the personnel policies, procedure, and handbook update. However, we have decided that we will put this on hold for now, and I think the plan is going to be that we're going to take a look at the personnel policy as a board. And we will make notes in it as to if we think, if the pages are good, we'll leave them good. And then we'll come to a page that needs to be updated, then we will discuss it and see if we need to change it, and how we can change it. When it comes to benefits, we think we should have the treasurer involved, because she's the one that directly deals with paying out benefits and doing that, and she already knows what some of the things that need to be corrected. So we'll start that process probably after the first of the year, if that's all right with you guys.
It's a great
Sounds great.
idea. I am wary that if we table it until too late,
No.
it'll go the way of everything else.
We were gonna do it a different way, but we decided that's not the way it should be done, so,
Chunk it out in chapters maybe, or, so give us
Yeah.
our reading assignments and.
Sure.
so we'll start that after the first of the year. Okay, town office paper shredding event. Is this the town coordinator's part that you're gonna take
No,
over?
you can, no, this is yours.
You sure? Because I don't want to step on your toes.
No, this is-
Okay. This is still under new business. Very good, okay. Town coordinator would like to schedule a paper shredding event for all town offices. Tentative dates is Monday, December 18th. The town coordinator has received 3 proposals and recommends that we accept the proposal from ProShed. ProShed offers state contract pricing. This event could cost somewhere between $100 to $300. It'll depend upon the amount of shredded material. Other towns that have hosted this type of event use recycling dividend program funds from the Mass DEP to pay. Please note that the town-wide paper shredding event for Bernardston residents will be considered for a motion when the weather is warmer in the springtime 2024. So we're just looking at now just for the town offices, and we know we have a big problem with the police department. They have a ton of records that need to be shredded.
Will they be ready by the 18th?
Yes.
Okay. I would make a motion to schedule a paper shredding event on Monday, December 18th for all town offices.
Second.
All those in favor?
You have a
I
discussion.
have a question.
Yep.
I have 8 years of finance committee documents.
I have 18 years.
Can we
Can you
get
top
those
this?
shredded as well?
We'll talk.
Yeah, I'll call you tomorrow morning. My garage will love it.
It'll depend on what they are, because there is a schedule, a retention schedule that I have.
No,
that the
he's just
state
got,
requires.
he just got
These are
copies, he just got
copies.
copies.
These
He's
are
just-
not
Copies?
originals.
There's nothing that he has to worry about there.
Good point.
Okay, non-surplus electronic equipment turn-in. The town coordinator in conjunction with the
Clean up.
highway superintendent.
He's
That's
stealing
yours?
thunder?
No,
Huh?
no. I said we're cleaning things up.
Oh,
Am I moving off?
No, you're good. I'm sorry. I apologize. Go right ahead. No.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Okay. Anyways, non-surplus electronic equipment turn-in. The town coordinator in conjunction with the highway superintendent and the transfer station are seeking approval from the select board to schedule and coordinate a date with each department to collect and dispose of all non-surplus electronic equipment. The Bernardston transfer station has a e-waste container. E-waste containers are used to dispose of cell phones, smartphones, desktop computers, computer monitors, laptops, circuit boards, and hard drives. Certificates of data destruction are issued for all electronic equipment destruction by the Franklin County Solid Waste Management Division.
do we have a price on that one?
We already pay for it. It's one of our,
Through the waste district.
yeah.
And they
It's
won't
city,
send us a bill,
no, this is, this
because this can be
This
pricey.
container is on our transfer station all the time. They pick it up quarterly, so we'll coordinate. Yeah, this is something we already pay for. It's just,
The town people have to pay. Like if I go to dump a computer here, I have to pay.
well, no, this is going to, we're going to rally up the equipment and
Yeah,
take
this
it over.
This is town-owned equipment only.
Right, just town-owned equipment.
In a prior life, we would extract the hard drives
I-
and destroy them separately because that has data on it that
But
is-
that's what these e-waste, we can do that if it makes everyone feel more comfortable, but we don't have to do that. These are vetted companies through Franklin County Waste. You can throw the hard drives and everything in there, but if you feel more comfortable about it, of course, we can destroy the hard drives ourselves. But I called Franklin County directly myself. I talked to Amy Donovan,
Okay,
and she
I-
told me that the hard drives can go right in there as well. But I understand the concern, so we can also destroy the hard drives before we do that as well, if that's what you feel more comfortable with. There's no problem with that.
If you think they're secured at the transfer station, between the time you put them in and the time they take them out and destroy them, and they give you a destruction certificate, I'm good with it. So I would make a motion to, what do you want?
All those in favor? Oh, was there a second yet? No, there wasn't.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Old business. We've already gone through the zoning board of appeals. The non-criminal disposition for bylaw enforcement, determination of local interest. We need to decide if we want to try to move forward with this. We've noticed over the last few months, we're trying to get one issue corrected, that we don't have a lot of power in doing a lot of things. And this would give us a way of doing it. It says communities across the Commonwealth are using a non-criminal process to enforce a variety of local laws and regulations, ranging from trash disposal violations to failure to remove snow and ice from sidewalks. The statute allows each community to determine for itself those local laws which are best enforced by this method. The first step in the implementation process is to determine the extent of the local interest in having this procedure available as an alternative method of enforcement. If so, it is recommended that the meeting be held that would include representation at a minimum from Select Board, Town Coordinator, Police Chief, Board of Health, Building Inspectors Office, Conservation Commission, and Town Council. The initial meeting will be used to review 21D and make sure determination as to whether or not the town sees any benefit in the adoption of it. We have the policy in our book that I've already read it a few times. It allows you to go after people that are abusing the junk car law rule, as well as other things. So
I would make a motion that we call a meeting of the identified people, the select board, the town coordinator, police chief, board of health, building inspector's office, conservation commission, and town council to review the 21D and make a determination if the town wants to proceed with that.
I would second that motion.
okay, and just for a comment, I would assume that after we do this and we really look at it, we would maybe make this something that we put on the town warrant and discuss it with the townspeople so everybody's aware of it and has a good chance of giving their input in whether they want to do this or not.
For sure.
Think that's who has to adopt it, is town meeting. Town meeting actually has to adopt it.
So we'll go with that selection. Okay.
I'll have that vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Town coordinators report. I knew I'd get there.
I'll keep it short. Couple items. So the Cushman Library Mass Save rebate was approved for the heat pumps, and the town will be receiving a check for $14,350 in the next couple of weeks.
The library.
It's the rebate back from Mass Saves.
For
So,
the
the commercial air source heat pump that was installed in Cushman Library.
okay.
So,
We haven't heard anything from the school.
I know there was a mistake on the school one just before Lou left that Jamrog had to correct and send back to the state.
I can check on that. I wasn't
Okay.
aware of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly who I got this information from, was from Jamrock,
Okay.
the woman there.
Yeah,
So
check with them on the ones at the school then.
you got it.
Thank you.
The next item is we have the meeting with the lawyer about the cannabis compliance host service agreement. So there's also going to be this webinar, and it's the cannabis compliance reviewing the new regulatory requirements for host communities, and it's hosted on December 11th. And I sent you all the email for registration, and I just wanted to emphasize the importance of that. I signed up to, and I think Chris did as well, to attend. So I just thought it'd be something for one of us to do for sure, be committed to it, so that when we have our meeting, we'll be that much more informed.
That's on
Yes.
TV? I mean, on
It's a
Zoom?
webinar, you have to register for it, yes.
Okay, but you registered through our office, so we could watch
Yes.
it in the office?
Yes.
Isn't our meeting with the cannabis person before that, December 12th, 11th?
I believe it is.
So further education
Further education.
after the meeting.
But yes, I just thought it was, the timing was, important to make mention of it. And then the last thing real quick is I just want to let you know that I have an orientation. I finally set that meeting up at the FERCog with Bob Dean, and I'm going to meet the players that support Bernardston, which would be
Okay.
Jim Hawkins, and I've met Randy already. That's scheduled for December 5th at 10:30, and I'm going to their area.
Okay.
So I just didn't know if maybe one of you wanted to come with me, or if I'm free to go on my own. I just wanted to let you know I was doing that, so it'd be interesting. And if there's anything significant that you wanted me to zero in on, you can just let me know, and I'll ask those questions on your
What's the
behalf.
date on that?
December 5th at 10:30.
I am in Maine.
Next week, Tuesday, I think.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, we can follow up. Okay, anything else?
And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, next order of business is we have the annual town report that we have to start thinking about. We need to start thinking about dedications of other recognitions of residents who have passed away during 2023 for this CY23 annual town report. The town coordinator will be sending out a memo to all departments requesting submission of all departmental annual reports for calendar year 2023 are due to the Select Board's office no later than February 28, 2024. So we're moving right along into the year. Next order of business is the entertainment licenses, renewals, and those are for Crumpton Fox Club, Zeke's Roadhouse Grill, Hitchcock Brewing LLC, Kringle Candle, and the Farm Table. Do I have a motion to?
Make a motion to renew the entertainment licenses for Crumpet Fox Club, Zeke's Roadhouse Grill, Hitchcock Brewing LLC, Kringle Candle, and the Farm Table.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next we have the used car dealer's license renewals. We have 3, Denotes Auto Sales, Beckworth Auto Sales, and a Bernardston Auto Wrecking.
Would make a motion to renew the used car dealer's license renewals for Dano's Auto Sales, Beckwith's Auto Sales, Bernardston Auto Wrecking.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we need to designate, we need a designation of environmental certifying officer. In my capacity as chair of the select board for the town of Bernardston, Massachusetts, I designate Karen Kelly, interim town coordinator, as the town's environmental certifying officer. Do we have any objections to that? Okay, hearing none, I'll sign it. Okay. Town Hall Holiday Potluck Luncheon. I entertain a motion to approve the Town Hall Holiday Potluck Luncheon on Thursday, December 21st at 12 p.m.
And is this an annual event, or is this a newbie?
It's an annual event.
Yeah. Might have missed a year because of COVID or something, but
Yeah.
And what, who's invited?
The town employees
yeah.
in all committees. Anybody on any committees or?
It doesn't interfere with the senior centers. We looked at the date, so.
Departments, all that good stuff. They usually, I think Joe's been instrumental in
Joe usually spearheads it.
She is the one spearheading it.
they
Yep.
do a potluck thing.
I remember do that one.
She asked me to ask about this, put it on the agenda for your approval. Jill's
Make a
still in
motion
charge.
to approve the Town Hall Holiday Potluck Luncheon on Thursday, December 21st at 12 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I forgot one.
You forgot the calendar?
Yeah, we'll go back to that one, right?
Okay. I entertain a motion to approve the approval of the 2024 holiday calendar. Exceptions due to work responsibilities were made on an individual basis with prior approval from the select board. Okay, what are we talking about here?
It's in
Monday,
the-
January 1st, Monday, January 15th, Monday, February 19th, Monday, April 15th, Monday, May 27th.
Oh, okay, I see it back in the back.
Yeah,
Okay.
way in the back.
Juneteenth, which is Wednesday, June 19th, Thursday, July 4th, Monday, September 2nd, Monday, October 14th, Monday, November 11th, Thursday, November 28th, and Wednesday, December 25th.
For Christmas. Okay, all those, do we have a motion on it?
I would move that we designate those days as holidays for the town calendar.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey. Any other business to come before the select board?
All employees and committees.
Yes.
Any other
Heck of an
business?
idea. Could we count on you to do that?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Any other business to come before this meeting?
No.
Hearing none, do I entertain a motion to adjourn?
I would make a motion to adjourn
All
the
those in
meeting.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I seconded it.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
But it is